In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to make one of these fishing line perimeter type deals. And I've made so many of these, and they're very time consuming. But anybody who tries to, again, I'm in a little bit of a fishing line tunnel here that enters the first part of the camp of the secondary living position. They're very time consuming, but they'll keep any unwanted visitors, animal and human alike, from entering your camp unauthorized. And you can make choke points and all that. There's 2 choke points here, one in the front, one in the back. And you want to place this in the area that already has shit tons of vines and crap like that. You know, you want to place this in an area where there will be like spiky vines and just all sorts of shit that'll poke the crap out of people. And you want to clear out your area within the middle of a thicket. And eventually, as you tamp down the ground, it'll begin to look like this, even though you're in the middle of a giant thicket. Again, you want to do everything you can to keep undesirables out of your perimeter. And this is a very uncommon, unused technique. I didn't learn it from any special forces veterans or anything like that. Believe it or not, I learned this from homeless people who've lived in the woods for like 25 years and stuff like that. And this is how they've effectively kept police away from them and other forms of unwanted attention away from them. If you have property, this is a good way to keep trespassers out, you name it. So again, the more you're willing to use fishing line wise, the better it'll get. So without further delay, let's begin the tutorial. To make one of these perimeters, to start making one of these perimeters, you want to start by taking some fishing line. This is 700 yards. We've used tons of these to do what we've already done. And these are 12 pound, and you probably want to get more pound than this, but we've already had multiple different kinds of fishing line, and this is just to reinforce what is already there. One downside of this is if part of the line breaks, the whole thing starts to sag slowly. So you really have to be redundant with it and use many lines and tie many knots with your reinforcement. And there's so many different ways to do this that are actually within itself beyond the scope of this video. Again, what you want to do is you want to wrap this thing around the tree, back over like this, and you want to highly reinforce it as much as you can, because again, this is something you do in a permissive environment. That is to say, an environment that you feel you'd go unnoticed in for long periods of time, an environment where you have permission of the perceived righteous authority to continue to operate and to continue to live. So you can make your home your castle in this scenario. And with that state of mind, you can thus begin making a strong outer perimeter. Another thing you can do is do false perimeters, cutaways, little tunnels like you've seen at the entrance. Me going into how to do all these things is beyond the scope of this video again. One tip I'll give is go around a tree multiple times to keep it tight. And I was planning on doing this eventually anyway, it just wasn't priority number 1 because I have permission to be here. Wrap it around. And you can incorporate foliage and stuff like that into your berry. High-speed, low-drag types of people aren't going to recommend you do stuff like this because it's time-consuming and would never be something you do in an unpermissive environment. You know, in an unpermissive environment, if you like sleeping on the ground, you throw a tarp over you and you sleep on the ground. You get 4 hours of sleep and then you move. But again, a lot of people who aren't doing that anyway are going to give me advice about how I'm doing how I'm doing is combat ineffective. You know, because people fail to pay attention to circumstance. So just keep looping back and forth, and then you can start putting twigs inside of it and stuff. And these invasive plants make a pretty good way to do that, because there's just so many of them. I forgot what they're called, but you'll see shit tons of them in Florida. If you're in North Florida, you know what I'm talking about. Just drop them on the ground. Hope new ones grow, and then you can use them to make more of these barriers. Okay, so having established that this wire goes around the entirety of the whole camp, having established that this is an effective perimeter for the whole camp, we're actually going to begin to reinforce it and make it even stronger than it already is now. And we're going to be working on the bottom, because there's a lot of area towards the bottom that still needs to be worked on.